Okay, what we're doing here is we've got a Zastava. It's a Yugo rifle. It's an 8mm. It's the Mauser cartridge, and we purchased this rifle, and there were some issues with it. The previous owner couldn't get it to cycle continuously. It jammed. So in research we found the AK Fourms, and on the AK Fourms they've got a special section that's devoted to the M76. So what we're doing here is we're actually fitting the bolt to the bullet guide. This is the bolt right here, and on the side of the bolt there's a ramp right here, and that ramp has to be cut at a 37-degree angle. And the ramp, as the bolt approaches the face of the chamber, you want the ramp to contact the bullet guide when you've got about 2.5 millimeters gap between the bullet, between the face of the chamber and the bolt face. In this case, I'm hitting the bullet guide a little bit early. So what they tell you to do is to file away. So here we go. We're going to try and file a little bit off of the bullet guide. Again, it's to be at a 39-degree angle on that ramp. And the way we're going to do this is we've got a little protractor right here that's set up with a 39-degree angle. We're mounted in a small angle plate to secure the bolt. And now all we're going to do is run the file at the same angle as what the protractor is set at. So, maybe instead of the file, I've filed a little bit on this, and I'm getting close. And there should be somewhere close by a stone. Alright, I found a stone. This is a India stone. Like I said, I already hit this thing with the file, and now we're going to work with the stone. A stone you can run in both directions. And we're just holding basically on that ramp and working the same angle as what the protractor is set at. Using the protractor as a guide to hold the stone and forth. Alright, so let's pull this thing out. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that as you're, let's see if I can get this on camera, as you're removing material from this angle here, see if this is going to show up. As you remove material, you want to take it off as square. So what I've got, this is just a piece of sheet metal, and it's cut on a shear, so it's pretty darn square. So what I got to actually check this is you use the piece of sheet metal against the bolt, machine surface in the bolt, and then you bring it right up to the bottom edge there, and you can see we're pretty square there. So we're coming out at a 90-degree angle, if you can see that. So the next part is after this is a little bit at a time, so what you want to do then is what I've got here, these are some washers, okay? These washers total 100 thousandths of an inch, 0.100, which is right around, I think 2 millimeters, they might be 99, 2 millimeters 98 and change. So, it's real close to, when I contact that, the bolt should not turn. So So the way you do this is you set the bolt inside here. This is all showing up on camera. And as you bring the bolt forward, let me show you the part I'm talking about here. So this ramp contacts a ramp right here on the bullet guide. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can move this around so you can maybe see that a little bit better. But anyhow, there's a small ramp here on the bullet guide. And that's what starts the bolt to turn. And then the carrier takes over and brings the bolt in the lockup. So what we're trying to do here is, right now with this 100 thousandths, the bolt should come forward and not contact the ramp. Boy, this is like right there. So we are there right now. By that little bit of stoning I did with that India stone, enough material was removed so that as my bolt comes forward, it does not rotate. In other words, the ramp on the bolt is not hitting the ramp on the bullet guide. They're not contacting. And that's when I've got 100 thousandths clearance between the chamber face and the bolt face. So right now, as I push forward, the bolt does not begin to turn. Let's see if I can get that on camera here. We're holding the bolt, down, and once it contacts those washers, everything is square. But you can see that the bolt does not turn. Now, I believe it's 76 thousandths, you want the bolt to start to rotate. So the top dimension is basically 98 and change, and the bottom dimension is 76. So let's see if we can find 76 here by maybe pulling out one of these washers. So we got 75 thousandths worth of washers here. Now what should happen is, as the bolt comes forward, the bolt is going to contact the bullet guide and start to rotate. You can see it. It just begins to rotate. So as the bolt comes forward, it now contacts the bullet guide, hits the ramp, and begins to rotate. That's what you want to see. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, if my hands are in the way here. But what's happening here is the bolt moves forward and contacts those washers. It just begins to rotate. Ever so slightly, but it starts to rotate, which means it's starting to cam over into a lock. What I might do now is just put a little bit of a sheen on that with hard Arkansas stone. So here's a white hard Arkansas stone. Got our angle set up. And basically all we're doing here is making that polish that ramp a little bit so that it's just got a nicer finish, maybe a little bit smoother operation. Looks pretty square. Looks like we could use a little bit more polish up on the top there. Yeah, the hard Arkansas stone does a real nice job at putting a very, very fine polish on something. So that looks pretty good. Double check our square. I don't know if this is showing up, but you can see it's pretty square. In other words, the ramp is cut pretty square. Actually, 2 millimeters, right around 76 thousandths. But there you can just see the bolt begins. The bolt contacts the bullet guide. The little ramp on the bullet guide. The two ramps contact one another, and you can see the bolt just begins to turn. Hope that shows up on camera, but see if I can get it again. Alright, take my word for it, it does begin to rotate. Okay, so what we're doing here, let me show you. This is the actual lockup on the rifle. So what we have here is, so you can see, the bolt is stripped. And what I mean by stripped is the firing pin has been removed and the extractor, which goes right here, has been removed. So that's a strip bolt. We've got the ramp that contacts the bullet guide polished up now, and that looks to be pretty good. So the next thing is the lockup. So this is a Forster Go Gauge for 8mm by 57 Mauser, and this is a Go Gauge. So that means I should close on this. So I should be able to put that in the chamber, and then insert my bolt, okay, into the carrier, bring that down, put everything in here, and the bolt should lock up, and there it is. You can see the bolt, I make contact, things are snug at that point, and then it goes in, it goes home. So I want to know how much force that takes. So what I got is I got a wooden dowel stick here, and I've got a force gauge. This is just a mechanical force gauge, measures in pounds. So and it has a function that you know, it'll lock at the highest point. So we'll just bring this in. And you can see we locked up, it's right around 14 and a half pounds on the lockup here. So turn it off, open the bolt again. Once again, that was around 16 pounds. I'm better when I'm doing this on the floor, so that I'm sure this thing is not going to move. Anyhow, you get the idea. It does close on the Go Gauge, and again, that was around 11 pounds. If I'm fully closed. Yeah, it's fully closed. So 11 pounds. So we're averaging, I want to say about 11, 12, 13 pounds to close on a Go Gauge. Stand by, let's see if I got a no-go gauge. Okay, I found a no-go gauge. This is, again, a Forster. It's a no-go 8 by 57. No-go gauge. So we'll put that into the chamber. Again, the bolt is stripped. Strip bolt here. Install it into the carrier. Install the carrier in, and on the no-go gauge, it does not close. So that's a good sign. So what this video is about it's about adjusting this ramp. In this case, I think the reason this gun was jamming is this was contacting way early. So way before it was supposed to, it was trying to get the bolt to go into lockup before the bolt, the receiver locks were available. So it's starting it to turn too early. So by adjusting that ramp, by filing a little bit off of it, kept bringing the ramp farther back, until the point that I could get the correct adjustment between the face of the bolt here and, I don't know if it's on camera, but the face of the chamber. So that has to be, when you start to contact, no greater than 2.5 millimeters, and you want, for sure, you want something, turning when you get down to 2 millimeters. So at 2.5, preferably the bolt hasn't started to turn yet, and when you get down to 2 millimeters, the bolt's starting to go into lockup. So she comes forward, she starts moving, and then bang. There's your lockup. That's the lugs actually locking in on the milled receiver here. This M76 uses a milled receiver. This is a gun that was put together by Century, and obviously they maybe missed this step or whatever they did. They didn't get this adjustment correct. So hopefully this is going to solve the issues with this gun jamming, which will be that. Alright, I just wanted to see, I haven't seen anybody actually adjust that ramp on the bolt. So there's a video by Texas Gunsmith, I think he is. Excellent video on most of the assembly on this, but I don't think he adjusts the bolt and the bullet guide clearance and what's supposed to happen there. The information I did get, once again, was from AK Forbus, and the major contributor here would be, I'm going to mess up their names, but I want to say it was like Arsenal, Wart, or something to that effect. And then obviously the second guy, the other heavyweight, was Robert Forbus. Gave a lot of serious information. He's the one who talked about. I think he actually put the information on the form from the Armorer's Handbook on this gun. So that's where the 2.5 and 2 millimeter clearances come in. I think AKBLUE might have had some information he provided as well. Okay, hopefully this is back on. What I was going to do is I was going to assemble the bolt. So, got some alcohol here. Not sure how to assemble it. It's going to be kind of a learning curve here. Just going to get everything cleaned out on it. Alright, so this is the extractor right here. That's the spring that goes behind the extractor. This is the pin that holds the extractor in. I'm not sure. I think the firing pin might need to be in first. So, and the firing pin has to face a certain way so that the bolt, so that the pin for the firing pin, so the pin that holds the firing pin in. Alright, so maybe the firing pin extractor goes in first. Let's try that. So here's the spring in the extractor. Extractor goes in like that. pin for the extractor comes down in here, and this pin for the extractor has a groove cut out in it, and that is for the pin which holds the firing pin in. So let's see if this is going to work. Of course it's not going to work. Alright, so the next thing would be, hopefully, this has to go in, and it only goes in one way. So it looks like, I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but the hole is on the left side of center line. So, and when you look at this, this is going to focus, who knows. It's one side is cut out more than the other. We might want to start this pin first and get it going past the yeah, looks like we do. We'll have to start this pin first. Alright, so we've got a wheeler block here. Take the wheeler block. There's a spot on this thing that's made for this. No? Possibly. Alright, so it's starting. Alright, so what we're doing here is we got this little stick is wedged on the firing pin, holding it in. I'd have done it that time. And then just to drive it a little bit beyond flush here. That is. And now the pin is down below flush. It's down inside that chamfer. And it's also below flush on this side. So the bolt is assembled. You've got, there's the extractor, and there's the firing pin. So when the firing pin is back, it sticks out the back, and then forward, she's sticking out the front. I got a dummy round here somewhere. I believe this is 8mm. Yeah, 8mm, and then there she is. Okay, so that was the assembly. What I did was the end trick I end up using is you get your firing pin and first you put your extractor in, that pin just slides in. You got to get the orientation of, there's a groove cut in this pin that holds the extractor in. You got to get that orientation correct. Get it lined up so that the pin that retains the firing pin can pass through. So that goes in first, the extractor and its pin with a spring. Then you put the firing pin in, maybe use something to wedge the back side of it to lock it in position once you're happy with it. Have your pin that's going to lock the firing pin started, maybe even down here past the pin that holds the extractor in, get it to engage that, and then once this is locked in, just kind of tap it down and just make sure you're down below flush. And your bolt is assembled. So that bolt is together now. We had to file this face down. This is the face that we were talking about. That's basically the reason we made this video, because no one talks about this face engaging the bullet guide, which is riveted into the receiver. So that's what's going on there. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to check the operation of the magazine with some, we got some dummy rounds. We'll see if this thing will hand cycle with dummy rounds. So stand by. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the magazine apart, make sure everything looks clean, which it does. It looks pretty good. So, you know, you just saw me do it. Basically, here's your base plate on your magazine. Let me slide the gun a little bit out of the way here, if we can get the rifle over here out of view a little bit. But, you know, there's a fix, supposedly, God, I can't remember. I think it's AKBLUE on the Fourm talks about it. And if you got one of these guns, one of the issues that they may have is the last round hold open. What it is this engages the bolt when the bolt's back. And some of them are, the followers here are tipping forward inside the magazine. So what ends up happening is you end up like this, because the bolt's trying to push back on this. So what I think it was AKBLUE came up with is he found that if he spot welds a thin piece of metal, I think, I don't know what it is, 60 thousandths maybe, 0.060 onto the back side of this. I don't know if he just grinds it to the exact shape of this and spots welds it, and it comes down maybe 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch past this. That 1/4 or 3/8 does not affect magazine capacity, and that extra 60 thousandths with that extra edge here that hangs down maybe 3/8 of an inch past prevents the follower from tipping forward. So you don't get a deal where the action or the carrier is jammed and locked in a position because it's being wedged in there by the carrier. I think that's one of the issues that they're having with these aftermarket. Probably the Yugoslavian version of this receiver doesn't have this issue, but for whatever reason, you know, we're engineering or reverse engineering this receiver based on what, because you can't import the gun. So what Century Arms does is they make their own receiver, and you know, based on the cut-up versions of what the receiver that they're getting from Yugoslavia, the reverse engineering it. Obviously, they are missing a little bit. Anyhow, maybe I'll just kind of wipe this thing down, go get some mineral spirits and hit this real quick with some cleaner, and we'll be back and we'll get this thing reassembled. So stand by.